Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks. This is episode 4. Before I introduce my guest, I want to apologize for last week not having an episode just due to time constraints and scheduling. It was tough to get somebody in here. But I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Scott Guidry with Paragon Inspections. He's done the inspections for me, and I just wanted to get him in to kind of provide a little background knowledge on what inspections entail, kind of what their thought process is, and I felt like it'd be something that might help you guys if you're going through the buying or selling process. So anyway, this is Scott Guidry with Paragon. Glad you're here, man.
Me too.
Yeah. So I guess real quick, you kind of give a little rundown of you're born and raised in Baton Rouge, or where are you from, or?
I'm from Morgan City originally,
Okay.
which is if you go any further
I knew you had
south,
an accent.
right?
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
you go any further south, you drown.
Right.
I came up to Baton Rouge in '98 for LSU, which most people that's you run through Baton Rouge at some point.
Right.
From Louisiana. Once I was done with school, I actually waited tables for a while, managed a restaurant for a while. I know you're
Okay.
familiar with that.
Yeah.
And then I got on with a mold remediation company.
Okay.
Ended up being a supervisor for them for almost 10 years, and then I got licensed as a home inspector.
Gotcha. So I guess how many years have you been doing home inspection?
This is my 4th year
Okay.
doing home inspections. I'm by myself. I do it on my own, so the buck kind of stops with me.
Right.
I love what I do with the remediation company. We were always behind problems, so I felt like as an inspector,
So you
I
come
could
in after an
sometimes.
inspection? They
Well,
would call
we'd
you
go
out?
in when a problem happened. We'd go in and fix it,
Okay.
and a lot of the problems that we would run into could have been solved if somebody would have just caught them before they happened, and then it would have been a lot less expensive of an issue to fix.
Right.
So once we got in, it was really expensive.
Yeah. Have you found that to be beneficial as far as your home inspection goes, knowing what to look for as far as things that are susceptible to mold, or I guess especially in Baton Rouge, South Louisiana, where we've had a lot of historic floods and stuff like that.
Yeah, because not only did we do mold remediation, the owner was actually a general contractor too. So basically we'd go in, take houses apart, and then put them back together. So with my old job, I actually saw a lot more than I do with the inspections, because I can only see kind of what's on the outside.
Right.
Whereas with the remediation company, we would actually open it up, take a look at it, then put it back together and treat it, however we needed to treat it.
Exactly. So I found it interesting. You came and spoke to the real estate office a few weeks ago, and you were kind of talking to us about the things that, a homeowner that's, looking to sell their house, just some simple things they could do that would, ensure less, I guess, red marks on their inspection when it going to a potential buyer. Some of the things I thought were interesting, just literally window sills with, any type of standing water. You're going to write that, or not standing water, but stains. If you could go into that a little bit.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that, from a seller standpoint, normally when I do inspections, I'm doing it for somebody that's buying a house.
Right.
But from a seller's standpoint, there's a lot of little maintenance things that you could take care of before the inspection that really wouldn't take a lot of time and wouldn't cost you a lot of money at all. Stuff as simple as trimming trees, getting bushes off your siding, changing light bulbs, changing your air filters for your air condition. There's just a lot of little maintenance things that you can do to prevent notes on an inspection report that really don't need to be there in the first place.
And a stack of notes is always going to look daunting to a potential buyer. So if you're
the more notes on an inspection report, and any time that I make a note on an inspection report, the recommendation is always going to have somebody with a license to come out and check it behind me to make sure. So if you're a buyer trying to buy a house and you see these reports with licensed contractor, licensed electrician, licensed plumber, all these notes, and then it tends to look really scary, and a lot of times it's as simple as changing light bulbs.
Right. And I guess that kind of lends itself to what I was going to say next is just simple things that a seller could do. Seems like it'd be common sense, but I'm sure you run into it all the time where, like you said, light bulbs are out. Just random things. Cleanliness. Cleanliness, is that a huge part of it?
It's not a huge part of the inspection, but I'm also
Sets
a human
the tone.
being, right?
Yeah.
So when I walk into a house and there's just stuff everywhere and I'm dusty, and it kind of tells me, well, maybe these people really didn't take care of their house.
Right.
And it could just be that you didn't have time to clean it up during or before the inspection, but still.
You're setting the tone.
Right, it just kind of, it puts something in my head that says, well, maybe they just didn't take care of things.
Right.
Which you really don't want an inspector thinking that when they're doing an inspection.
Yeah, so I guess another thing I was thinking about when you were headed over here is, how involved do you get as far as an inspection goes? I know there's some things that inspectors aren't required to look at, or is it specific to each company? You say this is my guidelines, and
in Louisiana there's the standards of practice that we have to follow. Any licensed inspector in the state, that there's a minimum set of guidelines that we're required to follow on any inspection. Some inspectors do more, some do less. I try and stick to the standards as much as I can, and that's I have to do that. There are some things I don't have to do for the sake of thoroughness, but really the point of any inspection is to give a buyer a better idea of the conditions of all the major systems in the house on the day of the inspection. So you're going to get a complete overview of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can see it, turn it on, turn it off, test it, whatever the case may be, I do.
Right.
The main point, or really the main goal, is to discover if there would be any major deficiencies or major defects. That being said, I always go into my inspections in the mindset, I'm buying this house, what would I want to know?
Right.
So, things as simple as loose door handles, drawers that may not close just right, not really a big deal, but if I feel like I'd want to know about them, then I put it in my report.
Gotcha. What are some of the things that you don't are not required to inspect that could be a big item that maybe you would suggest? Get an inspection, but also maybe you might want to have another professional out.
There are some limitations on every inspection because it's all visual. Everything is kind of based on accessibility and visibility, meaning I have to be able to get to it and see it to inspect it. Mm-hmm. And it also consists of just normal operation on things. So, for instance, all the little water valve shutoffs under your sinks, I don't turn those off. I don't turn them on. It's all about what a normal homeowner would do in a house. Most normal homeowners don't flip their shutoffs on and off. Same thing with circuit breakers. I'm not going to go trip all the circuit breakers and make sure they all turn on and off.
Yeah. You do inspect the electrical components as far as just to make sure it's there's no rust or
what have you. And I do open up anytime I go in, I open up the panel, I check all the wiring. Make sure everything works. Normally, the first thing I do with electric is I turn everything on in the house.
Right.
I put the full load of the house on the electric panel, and the whole time I'm there, I'm kind of, in the back of my mind noticing, if anything's flickering, if any breakers do trip. So, there are some things electric that I do that, some inspectors do, some don't. Really, the big thing that there's a lot of limitations on the air conditioning system.
Yeah.
Really, the things that I do for the air condition is I look at the exterior components, meaning the outside unit, your condensing unit, and then your air handler and heating unit in the attic. But I don't open anything up.
Right.
So really, on every inspection, say 95% of the inspections I do, I always put a note on there recommending that if the sellers can't provide a receipt saying, we had the air conditioning service in the past couple months, that they get somebody out or at the very least ask the sellers.
And I find that most of the time that's asked by the buyer is always asked,
right.
Can you have someone come out and inspect the AC unit or the HVAC system?
Mm-hmm.
As far as roofs go, you get up on the roof, or
if I feel like I can safely get on the roof, then yes, I get on as many roofs as I can without feeling like I'm going to end up breaking a leg. Right. Because my legs are kind of useful on inspections too.
Right.
But yes, I'm not required to get on any roof, but it goes back to thoroughness. If I feel like I can get on the roof and walk it, I do.
Right. So, I guess it kind of goes back to cleanliness and just simple maintaining of a property. If you've got a bunch of debris on the roof or leaves, you're not going to get up there and check it. So you're kind of limiting the scope that you're going to actually provide. If
I
you
can't
deem
see
it not safe, then
I don't walk it. And also, if there's leaves and stuff on the roof, there's a note on the report about cleaning all the debris off your roof.
Right, which could lead to moisture being held on the roof and all kinds of...
It can actually lead to moisture coming into your attic space
Right.
and eventually into your house, which that's a big problem.
Have you ever been on an inspection that has never, didn't turn up anything?
No.
Never?
Not one.
New construction.
There's always going to be things. There's no such thing as a perfect house, and that is new construction included.
Right.
And, when people pay me to do an inspection, they want to hear something.
Yeah.
There's never been a house that I've done where I walked away and said, all right, everything's fine.
Right.
I'll see y'all later.
That'd be scary for you to do in
yeah.
general, yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, if I find even a little bit, it's almost like in my mind, well, what did I miss? Or
right.
But there are some houses that are better than others, and really general maintenance takes away a lot of the notes on my inspection reports. Like for instance, I had 2 houses in the same day a couple months ago, both built in late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. One of them was awful, the other one was not. And it all had to do with just general maintenance. That one person took care of their house, one person didn't.
Right. What's probably one of the worst things you've ever come across in a house, or just house in general? You don't have to name an address or out there or anything, but
there's been a couple.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of one general instance of just something that was like, oh my God, but there has been times where I've walked out and was like, what was... They had one that I did in New Orleans, where I walked out and I pretty much, it was a tenant, a landlord, and tenants lived there. Mm-hmm. I told the realtor he needed to call the landlord because the people were basically living in a death trap.
Wow.
It was awful. But I mean, there's been times where it's so hard to think of instances, but I've had raccoons in attics. Matter of fact, one of your fellow realtors at Penn, I caught a snake I think it was at his house actually.
Oh no!
And kind of freaked him out. But I mean, there's just it keeps my day interesting because I rarely see the same thing twice.
Right.
I'm always going to a different place, and it's always different people and it's different situations, and it really makes me enjoy what I do. So
do you do outside of Baton Rouge area?
Yes. I used to go further than I do now, but I mean, I'll go to Lafayette. I'll basically anywhere from Baton Rouge to Lafayette, and then I also do Hammond, Covington area also.
Okay.
Wherever people need inspections.
Yeah, absolutely. On average, how many inspections do you think you do a year or a month?
During the summers are normally busier. Generally in real estate, the summer months are normally my busiest times. Holiday seasons and really when school starts, real estate kind of backs off a little bit, but generally during the summer I do 10 to 15 inspections a week, and then during the winter, 7 to 10 is about what it is. Sometimes less, sometimes more, but I think this year I'll have 330 or 340 inspections done for the year.
Nice. Is there such thing as someone just getting an inspection just because they want to know what's going on with their house?
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. Like some people that have bought a newly constructed house, they'll have a year where all their warranties start to go away. So they'll call me in right before a year just to kind of make sure that they don't need to get anything checked or fixed, or call their builder back for anything. That makes sense. Yeah,
because a lot of the new construction builders, like some of the DSLDs of the world, they'll actually come and fix it up to
right. And I think that's actually state law that in Louisiana there's a builder's warranty for 1 year where they cover a lot of different things. And so if you get an inspector, and they can basically make a list of everything that the builder could come in and do while you're still under warranty on your house.
Right.
Another reason is sellers. A lot of times before you sell your house, if you wanted to get an inspection done to kind of get in front of a buyer's inspector, I do those a lot too. And I find those help too, because when you get a buyer's inspection, the buyer's going to take that report, and then they're going to come back to you and say, all right, I need you to fix this, and this. Or, in lieu of these repairs, we want cash.
Right.
And a lot of times the buyers are going to ask for more than it would have cost you if you would have just got it fixed. Right. So, I mean, there are some instances. I've done inspections for people that weren't happy with work their contractors had done, or, contractors had messed things up, and wanted to sue somebody.
Right.
So I mean, there are a lot of different reasons. The majority of my inspections do go for people buying a house.
Right.
But there are some instances where I do inspections for other reasons than that.
Have you ever had to be an expert witness in any type of
Not
cases?
Yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But I do know inspectors that do that.
Yeah.
But I haven't had the opportunity as of yet.
You haven't been lucky enough yet.
Right.
I'm sure that's a lovely experience.
Right.
Gotcha. What I guess if you want to take a couple minutes or a couple seconds and tell everybody out there, what do you think sets you apart from other inspectors and what you provide?
Just my experience and level of care. My experience, I have a service background in the restaurants, and then I also have a technical background in housing. So the combination of those two things, I feel like it helps me relate to the people.
Right.
I try not to be an alarmist. I try not to make mountains out of molehills on inspections. But if there's a mountain, then I want you to know about it.
And it's funny you say that. That's kind of how I felt getting into the real estate world, coming from a restaurant background. I take so much personally as as far as wanting to provide a quality service, quality product to people that I almost feel like I go above and beyond as far as making sure everybody I work with is happy. And I kind of felt the same with you when you came and did my inspection and so that's
I kind of feel like the golden rule always applies. Treat people the way that they want to be, or the way that you want to be treated.
Right.
And it's just people notice that kind of stuff. I try and keep my phone on me as much as I can, and that's one thing that I've actually had realtors tell me that you always answer your phone or you call back within 10 minutes.
Right.
So yeah, just the level of service that I try and provide, I try and keep that in the forefront, because I mean there's a lot of guys that know more about houses than I do, but I try and relate it to where everybody can understand.
Right. Gotcha. Well, I really appreciate you coming out and spending some time with us, and I know all the viewers out there are going to take away some really useful knowledge. Whether they're in the real estate business or just looking to buy or sell a home. So I really appreciate you coming out, man.
Hope I could help.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy holidays, man.
You too.
Merry Christmas.